Well, howdy hey there, comic book aficionados. I'm a little later in the month than I would have liked to be, liked to have been with my comics review because kind of my arrival at the store was a week later than it usually is in the month, and then also I got a lot of stuff this month, so it took me a while to read through it all. But I'm done, I'm finished, and let's see how much of this I can actually remember. So, first up, we got a slew of turtles as usual. They restarted the Saturday Morning Adventures series from a brand new #1. And in this one, the Rat King is down in the sewers doing his normal villain thing, and he comes into contact with a rogue canister of TCRI mutagen, and he loses the ability to communicate with the rats, were his normal army, and instead he all of a sudden becomes sensitive to turtles. So now he has the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles under his mind control sort of thing. So he's like, ooh, I miss my rats, but this could be fun, right? So he basically takes the turtles under his wing and gets them to do all of his bidding. And of course, his plan is take over the city, yada yada. He gets Donatello to go work on a technical project for him. So Donatello goes back to the turtle era, and when Master Splinter confronts him to talk about something, like, Splinter goes, oh, there's something not right here. Oh, you're under the sway of the Rat King, but whatever. So then they start to fight, and then eventually Splinter's able to beat the sense back into Donatello, so to speak, and he comes around and goes, oh, what am I doing? Oh no, the rest of the guys are still under his sway. So in the meantime, Shredder and Bebop and Rocksteady and those guys have entered the fray, and so it's kind of this Rat King and the Turtles versus Shredder. And after they deal with them, the end of the issue, we see Donatello kind of, I think he's still working on something, but he's like, we got to go save the guys because before they do something stupid, right? And as the issue closes off on the last page, we see the Rat King up on a rooftop with the turtles about to go on a mission somewhere to do something. And he designed for them, or got Donatello to design for him, these kind of mech suits for the turtles that look like kind of like Mickey Mouse ears and stuff. It's really weird. But anyways, it was a good story. It was an interesting story how the Rat King have the turtles under his sway as opposed to just rats. I thought that was a cool direction to go in, and I guess we'll see what happens with that storyline in issue 2, which I don't have yet. Next up, the Armageddon Game, issue 7. This is the second last issue of the Armageddon Game subset. In it, there's basically two things going on. Leo, Raph, Hob, and that kind of cosmic girl they picked up in another dimension somewhere, I forget her name. They have tracked down Madame Null and confront her, and they get into a big battle with her and her two mutant kind of lieutenants, and the Turtles and Hob have the upper hand, but eventually Madame Null gets the drop on the girl they came with, like I said, that cosmic girl, I forget her name, and she's about to kind of do her in when Hob gets the drop on her, shoots her in the back, but in the end, Madame Null's two mutant lieutenants are like, they kind of chokehold Madame Null, and they're like, stop, enough, that's enough of this, we're sick of all this fighting all the time, we just want to be chill, you know, we're done with this kind of game, right? So her evil mutant allies come around eventually. On the other side of things, we got Mikey, Donnie, and who else is with them? The Nova Posse. They are taking the fight to Shredder, and they are taking it right to the Technodrome, I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, I believe they invade the Technodrome, and yeah, I think they invade the Technodrome, and Krang is still in his metalhead suit, and they eventually win the battle there, with help from the neutrinos also arrive. But at the end of the issue, we see the last page. We see Shredder's spirit or whatever talking with Kitsune, his dead wife, her spirit, and he's like, "Okay, we did what we did. You know, what is there to do now?" And she's like, "My brother, that's the Rat King, he is not done yet. he still has something up his sleeve or something to that effect. So as we head into the last issue, some things have been cleaned up, but the Rat King still hasn't been apprehended or brought under wraps. So obviously they're going to have to deal with him in the last issue. Whether it'll be a cliffhanger or a full resolution, who knows? But we'll find out soon enough. Issue number 3 in the Usagi Yojimbo sub-series. So if you remember at the end of number 2, a bunch of mole people attacked the turtles and all Usagi Yojimbo and all of his people, and that battle had just begun. So this issue is mostly just the continuation of that battle. It's mostly action as they fight these mole things off. One of the allies of Usagi Yojimbo, he's like a rhino looking dude. His wife Kitsune gets killed by one of the mole people, and he's enraged, and so things kind of turn ugly. In the end, they're able to capture one of the mole people, and they interrogate him, and basically they figure out that the person that sent these mole people to attack them is Dr. Wenware, or Werewen. Wenware or Werewen? I think it's Werewen. Who is the time-traveling robotic mad scientist that the turtles came back in time or back to this dimension or whatever it is, looking for in the first place. So now Usagi Yojimbo and his king, their kind of goals align with the turtles, so now they can all go after Dr. Werewen and together and hopefully bring the fiend to his knees. Next up, we got issues 2, 4 in favor of the Ninja Turtles Power Rangers collaboration. They didn't put number 3 in my bin, and I couldn't find one on the shelf, so I am missing the middle issue. But as we pick up the after the first issue, when things shit hit the fan, we start with Rita Repulsa laying into Bebop and Rocksteady and Baxter Stockman about being useless allies. And in the meantime, on the other side of things, the Turtles and the Power Rangers are kind of getting acquainted with each other and being like, what the hell was that? Like, what is happening? And also at the same time, April O'Neil is in Angel Grove reporting on the madness that's been going on when she meets Bulk and Skull, the kind of goofy guys from the Power Rangers series, the early series that were always in the place that they hung out all the time, the little cafe or whatever it was. So eventually the shit hits the fan again. The fighting starts all over again. The Power Rangers morphing up, and they fight like Leatherhead is in there, and then also a whole whack of them appear, like Bebop, Rocksteady. Goldar shows up as well, and it's kind of, they get into this fight where at the end of it Shredder shows up, and we're not sure quite what he has up his sleeve. And then as it goes forward, Krang gets in on the action as well. He's dealing with Casey Jones, who is now the evil Ranger X. They also find these kind of transmorphers from Dimension X that are kind of really powerful. And so basically the fighting continues. Oh, this is issue number 4 we're talking about now. But what happens is, when we missed issue 3, we're in the aftermath of whatever happened in issue 3, which seems to have been a big battle, because outside the Technodrome, it's all like a burning wasteland and stuff like that. And the Power Rangers have actually been converted. I think they've been mutated, and they're now like dinosaurs, like full-fledged anthropomorphic dinosaurs that can fight. So things went squirrely in issue 3. And so now we've got another fight going on with Shredder and the Turtles attacking the Technodrome and infiltrating the Technodrome to try and take down Krang and Shredder. Or sorry, just Krang. Shredder's kind of a wild card in this one. And meanwhile in Angel Grove, that's where Splinter and the dinosaurized Power Rangers are taking on the rest of the enemies. And as this one ends, they also, Krang and kidnaps Bulk and Skull to try and get information out of them, but they're useless, as you know, so they have to try and twist things to make themselves seem useful. And they think doing a video expose on what's happening and exposing the turtles and all that stuff will be a good idea. And in the end, the turtles, as they're attacking Krang and the Technodrome and stuff, they use those really powerful Dimension X transmorphers on themselves, and they morph into these really cool suits, just like the Power Rangers do, and become even more powerful. And yeah, that's basically kind of where this one ends. As it kind of closes off, we see Krang rise up out of the ashes, and he's in like a Megazord, big Megazord mech thing. So that's terrifying, right? As if Krang's not terrifying enough. So then in the 5th and final issue, it's just basically an all-out war. Shredder presents his own Megazord, inserts that into the battle. Then the Power Rangers and the Turtles eventually combine their Zords into a Dragon Turtle Zord. So that's cool. And then basically, yeah, it's just a fight the rest of the way until the dust settles and the Turtles kind of visit the Rangers at Angel Grove. And also April and Casey Jones kind of talk it out after he was Ranger X and kind of come to terms with what happened during that whole thing. And in the end, it kind of ends, it kind of finishes on a bit of a cliffhanger as Shredder proves that he has something else up his sleeve when he welcomes a guy named Lord Zed into his kind of ranks. And Lord Zed is something to do with the Power Rangers, but I don't remember. When you watch a bunch of Power Rangers series, like all the enemies and stuff kind of blend together, so I'd have to go back and look. But it's somebody from the Power Rangers universe, and Shredder is in cahoots with him, apparently. And may mean we get another Power Rangers Turtles team up. I'm all for that. Last up for the Turtles is issue 1 in a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Street Fighter team up. Oh my god, I saw this and I was like, oh hell yeah. Oh fucking hell yeah. So in this opening issue of this series, the Turtles have ridden in a semi-truck all the way to Atlantic City because there is some sort of street fighting tournament going on. And Raph especially was like, guys, we gotta go. We got to prove we're the best fighters, and the only way to do that is to win this tournament. So they're all jacked for this tournament. Mikey, not so much. So it kind of opens up with Raph taking on Guile in the opening match, and they're fighting, they're duking it out, and having a really good fight. In the meantime, in some control room in the casino or whatever it is, we see Baxter Stockman, who has his persona like from the main series where he's the mayor. He looks like that incarnation. And he's teamed up with M. Bison from Street Fighter. And so Bison's really watching this match really, really closely, and he's really impressed with Raphael. And meanwhile, Baxter Stockman's like, don't have anything to do with the Turtles. They are bad news. But Bison's like, no. So he radios to the official who's calling the match, end it early. I need that turtle out of the ring. I need him. So the ref calls a illegal punch to the throat on Raph and ends the match. So Raph is pissed. Guile is also pissed because he wants to win it fairly. So they kind of have some words, and they're dragged away from each other by their respective parties in each corner. And they kind of exit the casino and stuff. And in the meantime, though, we get these glimpses of people asking the Turtles and asking other people, have you seen my husband or my brother or whatever? He was supposed to be fighting in this tournament and he's gone missing. So we see as more action goes along that there's a lot of fighters in this tournament that are all of a sudden going missing, sort of thing. So it kind of ends with Mikey having to take on Chun-Li, and he gets his ass kicked. And afterwards, the Turtles are kind of out on the street. The main Turtles are in the casino still, but Raph is out on the street looking for Guile because he wants to continue the match. And he finds him, and they renew hostilities in the streets this time. So it's an actual street fight, and that's kind of where the issue ends. But I can't wait to see where they go with this series because it's such a cool team up, right? Street Fighter is such an amazing game, such an amazing franchise. And to team them up with the Turtles is perfect with all their ninja stuff, right? Like all the punches and kicks and everything. Like the two kind of blend seamlessly in a way, right? So I thought that was a really cool collaboration, and I hope it goes for more than just a few issues, that's for sure. The only other thing I got to report is on Transformers. Now, that regular series has ended, so I don't have any new Transformers, but I went back and I bought 10 more back issues from the series I got last time. I got issues 1 through 10 of an IDW Transformers series last time I was looking. So this time I went back, they still had the rest, so I got 11 to 20. So we'll have a quick look. There's 11. There's 12. There's 13. There's 14. 15. 16. 17. 18. 19. And 20. So, I'll kind of summarize. Where we left off, the Autobots were trying to get at the Combaticons in South Korea, I think. The South Koreans had been working with some Decepticons in terms of security of their country and stuff like that. And the Autobots couldn't let that stand. But the Earth is on high alert for Cybertronians and the damage they've caused, so that the Autobots don't want to reveal themselves and get involved in anything and just keep being branded, evil, destructive aliens, whereas the Decepticons don't give a shit, but the Autobots don't. They want to be good, right? So they are working with the forces from Skywatch to try and figure this out. And so they actually arrange it, and their first attempt was failed because they couldn't transform into the robot mode or else they'd be exposed. So they tried to just do it in vehicle mode, and it didn't work out so well. So they planned another operation to take out the Combaticons, and this time they have help from Skywatch and Cosmos up in space, and they managed to put all the satellites on loops and stuff like that. So all the Earth's security forces everywhere will all be tricked, and they can actually transform into their robot mode and take the Combaticons to task. So again, they attack in vehicle mode, and the Combaticons are like, how'd it work out for you last time, right? And then all of a sudden Prime transforms, and they're like, oh shit. And so then the battle's on. Autobots are winning, but then all of a sudden the Predacons show up on the border of... Do South Korea and China, do they have a border? Because it made it seem like it in this. They probably do, but I don't know. The Predacons, the Chinese government has hired the Predacons to do security for China, just like the Combaticons were hired by South Korea. So, or was it North Korea? Or was it just Korea? I don't remember. Anyway, Korea somewhere. And so then the Predacons are like, do we have a problem here, Optimus? Like, you better not cross our border here or else you're going to have to deal with us. And Prime's being like, we have no business with you. We're just dealing with these guys. You just go do whatever. But then Onslaught, who had the crap kicked out of him by Prime, ends up firing a blaster into Rampage's back as he's walking away, which kind of ignites things, but it's cooled off afterwards, and things resume as they were. Now, as all this kind of action is going on, we get to delve a little bit into what happened just before this to set things up. So basically, Megatron, before these events, was blown into a million bits and pieces, and his tech fell from the sky into this kind of third world country where they salvaged his parts and actually made weapons out of them. Now, Megatron thought being dead, Starscream took the Matrix of leadership and was kind of ruling the Decepticons, but he was kind of really haphazard and just he just liked sitting in a room hanging out with the Matrix all the time. So the Decepticon forces were kind of aimless and stuff like that. In the meantime, though, Soundwave and Shockwave were still trying to find ways to bring Megatron back. So that was happening. And then enter Hot Rod, or Rodimus Prime, whatever you want to call him, who tracks down Starscream and confronts him and actually steals the Matrix of leadership. Now, as this is happening, not long after this happens, Megatron, having been created a new body, by his most faithful of Decepticon servants, enters and deals with both Starscream and Hot Rod. But basically, he punches Hot Rod into space, who goes and lands on another planet with the Matrix still around his chest. And meanwhile, Megatron, of course, deals with Starscream and then takes control of the Decepticons, as is the natural order of things, right? So meanwhile, Hot Rod eventually lands on this planet, and when he wakes up, it's like, Wheelie, what are you doing here? So Wheelie has been stranded on this planet. So together, the two of them escape, and they come into contact with Ironhide, who Hot Rod thought was dead because he killed him, or was responsible for him getting killed and stuff like that earlier in the series. So we kind of see all this stuff happening. Now, back to the actual current, what's happening. These guns and these weapons that have been created out of Megatron's old body parts have been shipped around the world to certain volatile humans who have taken a definite anti-Cybertronian stance. And so as the Autobots, as this situation in Korea deteriorates, the Autobots eventually call for a tactical retreat. And in the meantime, Bumblebee gets shot by one of these crazy people with a Megatron gun. I think Bumblebee and a couple of guys got not captured by the humans, but they agreed to kind of help them out and whatever. And as Bumblebee's giving kind of a big speech about, there's two different types of Cybertronians. We're not causing any trouble. We want to help you. We're peaceful. When one of these whack job humans that has been under the sway of this Megatron tech whips out his gun and blasts Bumblebee all to hell. And that's kind of actually what signals the big retreat. So the Autobots are on the lam. They're running. So many humans across the world are calling for all Cybertronians everywhere to basically be destroyed or whatever. And as this batch of 10 episodes or issues ends off, Megatron confronts Prime and basically says, Prime's like, are we doing this again, Megatron? Like, are we just going to beat the shit out of each other until one of us wins, like usual, whatever? And Megatron's like, ho, no, Prime. I got something else in store for you. He's put a handful of Autobots that he's captured inside of this city, where he's given a whole bunch of unstable people weapons to destroy them. And he's like, how are you going to get out of this pickle, Prime? Right? So he kind of leaves Prime with this kind of gift of, all your guys are going to be destroyed by humans, sort of thing. So, and that's kind of where those batch of 10 episodes, I always call them episodes, but they're issues. I really enjoyed those 10 issues. Everything flows and pretty well together. And again, some neat concepts in this one too, where the humans used Megatron's kind of Cybertronian tech to create weapons out of it, and kind of influence the minds of some crazy people and stuff like that. And what I also really like about these issues is that sometimes it doesn't seem like, when you open up the book and you look at it compared to the one that came before it, they don't look like they should go together. Sometimes the artists draw the Transformers more like realistically, like in the Michael Bay movies. And other times they're more cartoon-like. So each issue can have its own kind of different type of look. But it all flows together in one big story. It's just kind of different looks in each issue. So I thought that was kind of neat. At first I didn't really like it. I'm like, why wouldn't they just draw it the same all the time? It's one story. But then it was kind of neat to see each guy represented in a different kind of way, right? So anyways, I hope when I go back next month, they're going to have 21 to 30 still in the back issues bin. I mean, I've got the first 20, so if people go in looking for these and they're like, I can't get the start of it, I'll just leave these ones. That's what I'm banking on. So fingers crossed for July's haul.
Meow.